So how do we implement monitoring? First, a quick refresher about what monitoring is. Monitoring looks at metrics and detects anomalies. It also provides a simplified view of the system status, usually using a dashboard that presents the important metrics in an easy-to-grasp format. In addition, and this is perhaps the most important part, with monitoring we can set alerts to trigger when there is a problem, and so the relevant people will be notified when some action is required. This is a good example for a dashboard of a monitoring tool, in this case Kibana. You can see the charts and diagrams present various data points, and you can fully customize it to your needs. Now, when talking about monitoring, we actually talk about two types of monitoring: infrastructure monitoring and application monitoring. With infrastructure monitoring, we monitor the underlying server of the application, not the application itself. This means we usually monitor things such as CPU, RAM, disk, network, and any other metrics that are infrastructure related. With infrastructure monitoring, we get alerts when a problem is detected in the infrastructure, such as high CPU utilization or a disk failure. The data source for infrastructure monitoring is an agent that is installed on the machine and is constantly sampling the infrastructure. This agent sends the metrics information to the monitoring tool, which processes it and then presents it in the dashboard, and if needed, sends alerts. The other type of monitoring is application monitoring. Here, we monitor the application itself, not the infrastructure behind it. Application monitoring looks at metrics that are published by the app, such as requests per minute, orders per day, etc. With application monitoring, we can set alerts to trigger when a problem is detected in the application itself, such as bug in the code or a slowdown in response time. The data source for application monitoring is usually logs generated by the application, and it can be the log database itself or other logging mechanisms such as event log. Now, we as architects are usually more interested in application monitoring, but be aware that infrastructure monitoring is also important and should be in place. The good thing about these two types of monitoring is that most monitoring products provide both. They have agents that can be installed on the servers, and they can also connect to various log sources and get information about the application itself. So, which monitoring products should we use? First, whatever you choose, do not develop your own monitoring tool. There are so many of them, and most of them are quite good, so that there is really no point in developing your own. So here is a short list of the most popular monitoring tools out there. The first two, Nagios and the ELK stack, which we discussed in the previous lecture too, are tools for an on-premise application. And the last two, New Relic and Azure Application Insights, are cloud-based tools. So I would highly recommend to pick one of those, and you can't really go wrong here. Now, before concluding, just another point I would like to discuss. Your role as an architect regarding monitoring is mainly to make sure there is one. You usually shouldn't be involved in choosing, installing, configuring, and maintaining monitoring tool. This is the responsibility of the IT guys. You should make sure there is monitoring and that it can connect to the system's log. That's it. Okay, so that was logging and monitoring in microservices. And now let's move on to the next section.